Hello, my friends, and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program. Today, I thought we would go ahead and try and rescue Hendous Kerman. He has been up on the moon for far too long, and it's way past time that we got him back to Kerbin. So, we will attempt to make a ship and see what we can come up with. Let me quickly time warp today. I would rather do this during the day than nighttime hours because it won't take me too long to create a craft, and hopefully we'll time it just right to where the moon's in the right position. So I thought to myself, I kind of do the same thing over and over again, so let's go ahead and use some of these different cockpits that I never get around to doing. And I really think that these things can be used for pretty interesting designs, so I thought, what the hell, let's give it a try. But the Lackluster Labs parts selection is just fantastic, especially if you're trying to make really interesting spaceships. So I thought I would go with a cool like back spine on this craft and do underslung landing pods. And that's what I started with. But unfortunately, this Lackluster Labs, it's good for spacecraft design, but the size of the parts sometimes hinders your creativity. I do like the way you can mount them, but like I said, the size of the parts, like if you cannot adjust them, really hinders your creativity. But here I'm just trying to get an idea of what I was going to do for a lander, and this was just so ugly. I couldn't even go with it. Like even at this point, I was like, I don't know. This is like it's too bulky. It's sticking way out underneath the spacecraft, and like right at this point, I just was like, nope, tech with it, and started over, and decided to use one of the different cockpits, but the same spine design. And I gave myself a little bit more room, thinking that would help out as far as like space for the landing craft. But yet again, I tried to build out and down, and as you can see right here, it's already kind of it's just really awkward and bulky. So really quickly, I got rid of this design as well because I thought, okay, I need more enough space for at least two Kerbals in the craft, or at least remote control so I can get it down there unmanned and only need one space. So here I basically thought, okay, let's build smart. We will put it in line with the spine and give it plenty of fuel and RCS so that we can dock back up no problem. And this design worked out much better. And as far as being in line with everything, like it looks nice. And I'll be able to get Hendius up with this lander far easier than I could one of those giant bulky things. So here, really, I was like, I thought about, well, what am I going to do? Am I going to take this craft and make it just a balls to the wall rocket booster craft, or should I make it economical and a carrier craft? But eventually, I thought to myself, I never use nuclear engines on anything, and I always make everything in line. So here I turned on the what was it, the center of balance, just to see if I could maybe do some offset engines and make just something that looked pretty creative and fun and more like a Star Wars ship. So the entire time I'm building, I had to make sure to keep the thrust from the engines in line with that center of mass because, as you've seen from some of my other creations, that's absolutely important. But one thing I did forget though was with all the liquid fuel on this thing, I forgot to pump it properly to where eventually on return to Kerbin, I had to constantly keep manually refueling all these lower fuel tanks and transferring from other tanks, which was not very fun. And in later iterations, I'll probably be able to fix that with this one, but I'm definitely going to have to do something about it anyways, as you'll see. So far, though, like I really like having the pylon designs for engine nacelles, kind of like the Star Trek engine nacelles, like the way that the Enterprise has them. It's a pretty interesting design, and I put wings on it too, just to kind of the nacelles a little bit more structural integrity. And I thought, okay, on re-entry, those wings should help me like bleed off some of the heat. And I also thought, okay, just in case this design screws up, and I have a Kerbal up there, maybe I should be able to eject the cockpit and try and save the Kerbal if the craft is about to blow up. So that's why I put the decoupler and the extra chutes up there. And just making sure that all the engines are right and everything's good, and we get ready to launch. It was a pretty standard launch. I think the only reason I'm even showing it to you right now is just to prove that I didn't cheat the craft up into orbit, because I know some of my designs are not very aerodynamically sound, but eventually I get it. And I try to stay legit and not cheat on you guys. I haven't yet. I don't even remember what the key is to bring up the cheat menu in game. But yeah, like I said, pretty standard launch. I noticed that I got just the perfect amount of ratio of fuel, but I was a little worried here is when I was trying to circularize my orbit because I didn't think I had enough thrust with just those two remaining boosters. But we eventually managed to get up into orbit, and I still had a decent amount of fuel left in the orange tanks, so I used those to start my burn towards the moon. And as I'm burning, I end up finding out that I didn't have enough, so I start using the atomic rocket engines. And that's where I found the issue with not piping up the fuel tanks properly, because I started losing thrust really fast. And as you can see, two of those tanks are almost dry, and I didn't realize it, but halfway through this burn, those two tanks had completely emptied out, and I was only running on two out of the four engines. But at this point, I just wanted to stop and take a look at my craft and marvel in its beauty. I mean, doesn't that look nice? That looks kind of reminds me of the Rebel blockade runner from Star Wars. Yeah, pretty interesting. Man, those cockpits too. Like, there's so many possibilities with that, and making just liquid fuel in the tanks and having them orange along with the orange of the cockpit was pretty good. So I thought I'd skip all the rendezvousing with the moon really quick because we've all done that 1,000 times. But here I'm getting the lander ready, and it was a pretty standard landing. I didn't really have to worry too much about it, but eventually I realized my error, and I almost kind of screw everything up here too, because while I'm undocking the spacecraft, like I'm just checking that everything's in line, all of its like it's only got two stages anyways, but I just wanted to make sure that I didn't screw anything up and activate one of the engines on the larger craft. So pulling away wasn't too difficult. I put more than enough RCS fuel on this thing. I think I did way overkill. I probably could have lowered the craft's weight a little bit if I would have used just one of the smaller tanks and put it maybe under the SAS. But eventually I try and go retrograde, and I set, what is his name? I set Hendous Kerman's as my target, and get ready for the burn. I was checking the landing gear, making sure everything was good to go with them. And like it seems like a pretty simple lander, like one that'll get me where I'm going and to what I need to do. So as I set up this landing maneuver, I totally forget that I'm pointed straight at my my craft, my transport craft that brought me here. And like I'm just more concentrated on, okay, we got to get this Kerbal home. Like it's way past time. Mission control promised him a beer, and here I hit my rockets and realized my mistake almost instantly. And this could have cost me very dearly. I could have killed another Kerbal just trying to rescue a Kerbal. But luckily, I built the craft pretty sturdy. There's more than enough struts on this thing. I think I even added more strut attachment points to this thing, just in case. But unfortunately, in order to use those, you need I believe, scientist or an engineer Kerbal. Otherwise, they don't know what they're doing. So totally oblivious here, but if you watch my fuel up in the top corner, eventually I will realize I am burning through it like super fast. Those side engines are basically just power hogs when it comes to fuel, and I realized that way too late. But coming in, and I'm trying to make sure that my maneuvers are good, and I slow myself down and don't overshoot the crater that he's stuck in. And again, not watching my fuel, and we are almost on empty. But I'm just more concerned with not overshooting right now. And we get it down, and it's pretty much good to go. I thought it was awesome, and then realized, oh crap, I'm almost out of fuel. So I'm trying to come in for the landing and think, okay, maybe I can slow myself down with all those RCS ports. I put a crap ton of them on the ship. That should be doing something. And constantly keep trying and keep trying, but my speed keeps going up, and I'm pretty much just plummeting to the moon right now. There's really nothing I could do. I used the very last of my fuel there for that one maneuver, and here I'm trying my damnedest to slow myself down. I thought maybe I could slow it down enough that just the engines and the landing gear would blow up, and the rest of the stuff would be fine, and I could maybe use the RCS, but nope, it didn't help. But lucky for Hendous Kerman, the cockpit survived. So at least he will be able to get out and resupply himself and get more food, get more water, and believe it or not, he needs more places to store his waste. Because, man, being up here for as long as he's been, he could use some more plastic baggies. And we finally come to a stop. About time. But now Hendous is going out, and he is desperate for food and resupply. And it turns out, since he's been up here for so long, and he's got all the extra RCS fuel, he's learned ways to get around the moon super fast. I mean, look at this guy. He's a pro now at jetpacking on the moon. He doesn't have to walk anywhere anymore. That's probably killing his legs. He's going to have to do a ton of cardio once he gets back to Kerman. Yeah, it's actually kind of fun landing on the moon, though. If you really want to get around the moon really fast, you can make RCS transports instead of making rovers, and those things will get you around the moon way faster than the rovers will. But yeah, total pro here. Good job, Hendous. Maybe you're gonna earn that ace name, at least for surviving as long as you have. One thing I will say though, if you're trying to do this with a Kerbal, just make sure to watch again your fuel, because if you continue to use monopropellant, you could run out really fast and just slam a Kerbal into the walls of one of these craters. I mean, you can see how fast the ground is zipping by underneath me. And trying to brake here. Brake. Almost. Touchdown. That was perfect, Hendous. And apparently, he was so desperate to get these supplies that he just started trying to rip through the cockpit, trying desperately to roll it over and get to that door. And you can see him, he's freaking out so much, just trying to push it up. You would think with lower gravity that he'd be able to roll this thing no problem. Come on, you can do it. Good man. And for some reason it freaked out. That is the physics of Kerbal Space Program for you. But we got the hatchet right side up. And unfortunately something strange happened here. I think it's because the actual command pod itself is seen as debris. But in a second you'll see what happens. He tries to board and it freaks him out. And as soon as he gets on top, tries to enter, it totally crashes my game. So I had to reload, and we got Hendous back with all his supplies in his trash can. But unfortunately, he's going to be stuck there for a while, and we cannot land this thing on the moon. It probably could have landed, but you don't want to try and set it upright on those rocket bottle engines, or the nuclear bottle engines, whatever the heck they're called, Nervas or whatever, because they're pretty fragile and they don't have a high crash tolerance. And not only that, but I wasn't sure if I would have enough fuel to survive a landing and then take back off again and get all the way back to Kerbal. But as long as we can get this guy back, we can learn from our mistakes and build a better ship. Although I do really like the look of this one. I may actually just make it much larger and just say to hell with it and land the whole craft. Yeah, just setting up our return trajectories. It's pretty standard stuff. I think as soon as I get this set up, I will skip ahead a little bit. That way you don't have to watch it all. I did actually end up attempting re-entry twice. I cut out the first one because for some reason as soon as I was about to touch ground, I had another game crash, and I have no idea again why that happened. Like the first one I know was probably because the cockpit was seen as a just debris part, so maybe when he tried to get into it, the game didn't understand that it was still a cockpit. But yeah, again, those nuclear engines are firing, and I know I keep harping on it, but I really like that design. So here we are coming in for re-entry, and unfortunately this is the second time. Like I said, I had to restart the game because as soon as I was about to touch down, it just totally died on me. And this re-entry was pretty steep, but at this point I was just trying to get it done. And you can see I had to manually transfer fuel quite a bit because none of this was piped up properly. That's another issue I'll be able to solve with the next design. I think I may actually also build a much smaller space station than the Starfish, and take that and set it up around the moon, and set an identical one halfway in between, just so that we have a few extra stations that we can dock at and that have like survivability ships on them. We still haven't used the rescue craft yet, which I've been meaning to get around to, but I installed several special mods that I was attempting to use that had come new on CurseForge. One was the Warthog from Halo, but that thing is just totally broken. If you see it on there, don't use it. Wait till the guy actually gets it good. Like, it's got issues with collision detection to where you basically get stuck in the ground with the stupid thing. But yeah, I put that, and then there's another atomic rocket engine mod that it seemed okay, and it took one of the RTGs and remade it into a smaller nuclear engine, or yeah, radioisotope thermoelectric generators. Yeah, RTGs. But it's some of the dependencies, and it also redoes the tech tree to where my rescue landers that I already have in orbit of the moon, some of the parts it was showing that I hadn't earned yet and unlocked because it had redone the tech tree on me. Anyways, as I'm coming in here, you can see I keep twisting back and forth, and I think it's because the way the aerodynamics of Kerbal Space Program work, all of those wings they have the air going around them the wrong way. So it kept making me twist back and forth, and there was really nothing I could do about it. But as soon as I pop the chutes, everything goes good. And here I tried to almost like move ballast from all the rear tanks into the front tanks to see if I could make the craft land a little flatter. But those rocket engines are just way too heavy for that. I mean, these things, like, as soon as you add them, your center of mass boosts like way to the back. So that's one thing you definitely have to plan for. And I thought, what the hell? I put it on there anyways. Let's use this separator and see how well that works. Lots and lots of explosions. But we also got another pilot, plenty of experience. We'll call this a mock practice test for the rescue. Again, like, I can't stress how much I love these parts. They just look amazing. Lackluster Labs, if you only download one mod, download that one. It's fantastic. And actually, most of my craft survived that landing. Anyways, I think that's it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want me to do anything in particular again, just leave a comment, let me know. I will be back again with another interesting design, hopefully. I am kind of partial to the one you just saw, but I'll try and make it interesting, come up with something else new. I mean, we did the starfish, and we did this one next, so maybe I can enlarge what I have right now and make it into a better version of a carrier, and have something just new and exciting for you. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed the episode, and you all take it easy. Remember to like the video. It really helps out, and lets me know that you guys are enjoying the series. Till then, see you guys next time.